What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets. We are bringing you the PGA show for this week. We're in the middle of a bunch of shows right now, so we're probably going to keep it fairly quicker than most of our shows and talk about each tier, which we like the most. And Sheets, what's sort of your overall, and then I'll bring up the screen and we can talk a little bit about it.
I do have a couple of thoughts on the slate and golf DFS in general. You know what I noticed? It's like really interesting for and I watched some content over the last like couple of months or whatever, and for a sport that is so reliant on extreme variance, you know what I mean? You're 1 millimeter off, your whole life is different. You know what I mean? And there's when I hear people analyze some of these slates and some of these golfers, I hear more narrative street for golf than pretty much for anything. And it's not like it's not like basketball where the guy's really motivated. He's going to just like try that much harder. Golf, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like, as a matter of fact, I mean, like, the more you try in golf, maybe the worse you get. So I don't know. I find that just kind of an interesting observation. And the other thing more related to this slate is I think people forget how much variance there is in a golf game, because there's a lot of heavy-duty ownership flocking to people this week. And I know you can make good cases for them and nice, easy little stories to tell, but it's still freaking golf. So I am going to attempt to keep my sum of my ownership like below 75%, below 75% total. So I'm not going to necessarily fade like all the chalk, but I really want to make sure that I sprinkle in the lower owned guys along with these kind of golfers with kind of easy stories to tell.
Right, I agree. The stories, it is interesting though, because I guess there is a lot of motivation that goes into like making the points and all this stuff like that. But like, and sometimes you're tweaking your game. But the truth is, these guys still haven't played in a while. I don't think that's mostly what's happening. I think we're mostly seeing good efforts. With maybe Dustin Johnson trying out some things in some lesser tournaments or something. But mostly, I do think there's a lot of narrative-driven things that don't really seem to always correlate very much to what's actually happening. Let's get into it. Why don't you bring up your screen and let's talk about tier by tier, sort of what you're thinking. I'll do the same. It's a different kind of slate because we don't have the same superstars that we've been having lately. So
from a course perspective, from what I've heard, and it's pretty much consensus that you want to be accurate. It doesn't really reward distance as much as it does just getting in the fairway and being a good putter. And that's interesting because putting in and of itself is the most variant part of the sport. To the point where when you look at a lot of content, whatever, they're like, well, I don't like this guy because he putted well last week. Or another guy will say, well, I love this guy because although he lost by 5 strokes, he lost like 7 strokes due to putting. And whether that's, the right way to go about it or not, the point is that putting is just known to be that part of the game that just very difficult to predict. So for a course that rewards good putting, it's very, very interesting. So if some of these guys with like good strokes gained putting get higher ownership as a result of that, I might try to fade that idea actually. So that's what you want to do. That you want guys that are whatchamacallit, that are accurate. So with that said, I mean, you go to the top of the range here, and clearly the person for whom that description fits just like a glove is Webb Simpson, right? So it's a perfect course fit for him. It's a perfect style fit for him. Not to mention his actual course history, which is like, what is it, third, fifth. I mean, whatever it is, it's just through the freaking roof. And all that's great. And even at this price, he projects well and all that stuff. But I'm just saying that if he comes in at 40% ownership, okay, which is very possible.
Yeah.
He also might come in on FanDuel closer to 50% ownership. I want to make sure that if I go for this, that I'm going to make sure to not get too chalky in other spots. The other thing, again, the top that I think about is Koepka, And the reason why I think about it is, and this goes back to my stock market discussion we've had before, is that whenever a story is like that easy to tell one way or another, it's probably something to fade, right?
Like,
So
what's the story with Koepka?
but the story with Koepka is that he blew up and choked really, really hard after talking trash about what's his name, Dustin Johnson last week, and he only gets up for majors, and he's going to be pretty low owned this week, I think.
I love him.
So he'd be a guy that I might want to use as a pivot off of Webb. I don't know if I want to play them both together, but again, he's not going to project well. He's not going to show up in any course fits. He's really not. But it's a weaker field than it has been, and he's still Brooks Koepka. What can I tell you? Then more at the top, you have like Patrick Reed is going to. What's going on here? Patrick Reed is going to look to be okay. Fleetwood's going to be okay, but I guess Webb Simpson is kind of the cream of the crop up here. So for me, it's going to be either is Webb is going to rate to be the best play, and Koepka will be kind of hard to say off the board, but probably a lower owned top play. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think people are going to go there as much. I'm trying to lower my ownership on just the other top guys just for that reason. Like Patrick Reed, fine, but not in love with it. Webb Simpson makes perfect sense on paper, going to be crazy owned. Very fine avoiding it, hoping he doesn't win the tournament. But I'll probably be just beneath. I mean, I still like Webb enough to where I can just be beneath the field. And I've got enough other plays where I think I could play Webb and some other low-owned plays pretty easily, so I don't really mind using some of them. The guy who's really chalky up here, and I guess he's a little lower up here, but so in order of the very top guys, I'm going I'm going Fleetwood 1, Brooks 2. Again, I'm playing the ownership game. Webb I like the most, but I'll probably be with the field on him as the next guy I like. And then I like Justin Rose, but I'm not gonna play as much chalk. It's a good course for Justin Rose too, by the way. Same thing with Paul Casey. Just guys, I'm gonna probably be near the field or beneath, and try and focus more of that spend up on Fleetwood and Koepka. Although I do have a lot of low-owned guys in the lower tier, so I might end up using a little bit more of Webb than I thought.
Yeah, Patrick Reed's rated to be one of the top-owned guys. Fleetwood even. I mean, Fleetwood maybe 15% or something like that. But, I mean, he's fine. I mean, what I'm probably going to end up doing, I'm probably going to end up playing Webb. And I know I don't want to do this, right? So we talked about this a lot, about when people say you either just lock him in or fade him. You know what I mean? Who says you have to do that, right? We always have this discussion. This is kind of the way I kind of feel as though I want to play 100% Webb and just be different elsewhere. But then that feels wrong too. So I haven't really decided what I want to do, but I do have some kind of good low-owned guys that that we can talk about. So I guess we'll just continue to kind of go down the list and see where we are.
By the way, don't buy too much into the narrative about it blowing up last week after the saying stuff. Like, the truth is, you're talking about the variance of like one bad shot that got stuck and then he ended up doubling the hole. The game was over basically for it. I mean, well, it's a hard hill to climb at that point. It wasn't like he was like terrible. He actually played really well, and so did Tommy Fleetwood.
Okay, so I happen just before I trash this range, I happen to like Patrick Reed. I happen to like Tommy Fleetwood, and I happen to like Paul Casey, right? So I just don't want to get too, you know what I mean, too tied down to any of these guys at high ownership. But again, I think in my non-Webb lineups, I certainly would want to play, one of those three. Yeah,
I think there's just plenty of value down there. And there's not, we'll go through the next tier where there's a bunch of guys that I'm sort of fine with, but I'm not in love with. Although there is, I like Harris English. I mean, I like Justin Rose, but I really like Harris English. I think he's going to be one of the most popular players, but I don't mind eating a little bit of chalk there. For some reason, it feels a little better to me with the savings, but maybe I have even too much of him right now. But I'm over the field, which is pretty high on him.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I think he's fine. I don't think
you're playing a cash game. You play Harris English and Webb Simpson. We'll make it that. We'll say that.
What's so great about Harris English?
Harris English has been playing great. He suits the course really well. He's a very, very, very. I feel like he feels like a very safe play. And I feel like there's upside there. I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if he won the tournament or was in the top 5. And I think that he's making the cut about, 80% of the, it's actually less than I thought it was. 72% of the time.
So I want to like, for example, like I want to read you some guys.
He's the fourth favorite to win the tournament, and he's priced as the 8th favorite. There's a lot of things about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like him fine. I mean, I like Harris English fine. I'm just kind of into this whole idea of just golf being screwy. You know what I mean?
It is screwy. Yeah, maybe you don't need to play chalk, but we've got other guys who aren't chalk.
Right. Well, we got to find them. We haven't really gone over them yet.
We'll get there. Well, they're all lower.
Yeah.
They're all the cheaper ones as usual.
All right. So are you playing Siwoo Kim as chalk?
I don't think he's going to be that heavy chalk, but I do think he's looked great, and I'm going to play a little bit of them. I'll probably be at like 10% of them or something.
Yeah.
He looked great. Like he literally looks like he turned a corner and become a really good golfer.
But you hear the way we talk about these guys. You know what I mean? Like he turned the corner. He looks great.
It does it, but it happens for guys. Look at Morikawa this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at these are not just narrative things. Matt Wolff. These are not narratives. These are the best golfers in the world. They're just younger and they're figuring it out. Or in some cases they're guys who just are figuring it out. It happens. You know how it goes in golf.
Yeah. All right. So within this kind of like 8K-ish type range, so. Again, I'm kind of late because I've gone over this a lot, and so I'm already like in the jaded phase. Like I looked, and the first thing I looked at was, okay, Ryan Moore is going to probably be a really good play. And I'm looking at 20%. Who died and left Ryan Moore 20% owned? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying.
And he's fine. I prefer maybe at lower ownership, maybe Ches Reavie. Although Ryan Moore is a little bit of a better play.
Did you skip the other guys on purpose? Spieth, Todd, Im, Lowry. You said you just went Im.
No, you know what? I do this a lot. I forget that these guys are in my lineup, so I don't see them on the left. Yeah, so Horschel, let's go back there. So Horschel's another one. Horschel rates to be a really, really good play, and he's going to be 15, 20% owned, right? I do like him.
I think Horschel's going to end up being the second or third highest owned player. But that's okay.
I do like Brandon Todd a lot. And again, he's an ownership problem. So yeah, I didn't mean to forget. I didn't forget those. As a matter of fact, I did the opposite. I actually had them in my lineup. So that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't see them down the left. I do like Horschel. I do like Todd. I think they're really, really good plays. And again, you have to just make sure you pair them with the right people. I struggle with Sun Jae Im as a play. Like, how many times can he kill me? Spieth, you're gonna play him? Yeah.
I'm mildly interested in Spieth. Yeah, like, I mean, he's weird on these kind of like tough courses. And actually, like last week, I mean, he had good and bad moments all over the place. I'm kind of into him. I'm more into Brendan Todd, but he's gonna be owned, and I'm much more into some JM. I don't have the same fears you do about him. I think we might be getting the discount of all discounts here. Like on this field, for him to be this price feels kind of dumb. And we're, like you said, golf is, you go through stretches, and at 8,800, he's not going to kill you if he keeps making the cut and finishing in the 30s necessarily, but he's not going to win you a tournament either. Do we think he can improve on that? I think absolutely, especially in this field. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he's a guy who could win he's a guy who could, I definitely see winning the tournament. And I feel better about him than I do anyone else in that range, except for Todd. And I could make an argument for Sergio, but I don't think that this is going to be, that's what I'm going to end up doing. I think I'm going to go with more Sungjae and a little bit less of the other guys in this range.
Let me ask you something. Is that good enough to make the cut? And
no, it's not good enough. It's not going to kill you. I said it, but there's upside of him finishing 30th. I mean, this guy was the number 2 player in the world when we restarted. Like, I don't think it's not like he didn't learn how to play golf. It's not like he's not making cuts. That's actually partly the one thing that has worried me about him is that he's made cuts and he hasn't finished strong.
So who else in this range? I mean, I had some interest in Kisner. Another
one I'm going to be underweight on just because he's volatile and I need to get off of some ownership. So getting lower in the field on Kisner, lower in the field on Horschel, who I like even. I need to get different somewhere if I'm going to play these other guys. Those are the guys I'll be heavier underweight on because they're going to be pretty high on. And Ryan Moore too. Yeah, we're sort of like on the same page as some of this, except for that I'm just not a fan of Kisner at crazy high ownership.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I like him as a play just fine.
Sure.
But
like,
I don't want to go overboard. You know?
Yeah, I think Doc Redman is as good a player, better than Kisner is, and he's cheaper, and he's going to be lower owned. So I would just make that play, you know?
Yeah, because I got like 1, 2, 3. I got like a bunch of low-owned guys, like they're a little cheaper that we haven't gotten to yet. That I really want to make sure to get in with some of these plays.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I've got a bunch of them too. That's where most of my ownership's going to be.
So
we're at Corey Connors roughly.
Corey Connors is fine. He's going to be he's another one. He's going to be owned too.
I'll go under on him too.
Yeah, he's going to be owned too. Anybody else over 8K? Ryan Moore we talked about. What's that?
Never mind. I jumped to 7K.
Ryan Moore we talked about. Dylan Fratelli, I've heard some people make cases for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to get there though.
Yeah, I just think there's other guys. I like Fratelli actually, but I just don't think I'm going to end up playing that much of them because I like some other guys better who are going to be lower owned.
All right, so let's
one guy in that range though. JT Poston, I think is a terrific pivot off of Neiman, Chalky, even Redmond with a little bit of ownership, Corey Connors, and then Ryan Moore. No one's going to play JT Poston, who actually grades out to be just about as good a play as any of those guys do. So maybe that's one way you can start off getting different. I like some guys beneath him better, but I just want to throw out the JT Poston and Redmond are the guys I'm favoring in that upper 7K range.
Mr. Poston won this tournament last year, so
yeah, and he's going to be unowned, and it doesn't make sense to me why he's going to be unowned.
Yeah, that's one of the guys. I mean, I like him a lot. I mean, he's at 5% ownership. So let's get into where I think we're gonna be living. I think. So who are your favorites? I mean, I got really like 10 guys that I got a bunch too. So you go first. Go ahead.
So I really like Russell Henley at 77. He's gonna be popular, but he's a guy I'm okay eating a little bit of chalk on, but I don't know if I need to because I like Zudenhout better at 7.7, and I really like him. So he's going to be a guy who I could see it being like 30% of my lineups. I'm really into Zudenhout. I like Varner. I like Rory a lot, Rory Sabatini. I like Norlander, but I really like Lucas Glover. That is just sort of the whole bottom range, which I like a lot of guys. I like Brian Harman, who I haven't heard anybody say a word about, and is a cut maker who just is going to be unowned at 7,100. Seems a little ridiculous. Cameron Davis at 7K. I mean, these are basically all the low-end guys I have. Jason Kokrak. And then the one I'm really heavy on that I'm like, right now I have it at 40%. We'll see if I hold on this one. Keith Mitchell. I've heard way too much about him, so I started doing a little bit of digging. And I think he's been unlucky. I think he's too cheap. I think that he's got a chance to be in contention in this tournament. And I don't understand why he's getting overlooked by seemingly everyone except for the experts. He and Will Gordon, I have a lot of interest in. They're the same exact price.
Okay. So I will just get a list. My top guy, and especially given ownership, I love Brian Harman here. Mm-hmm. Especially at that ownership. I actually am. I love Lucas Glover. You mentioned him. I also love Roy Sabatini, whom you mentioned. The other guys that you haven't. Oh, you mentioned Kokrak. I like him. Just a couple of guys you didn't mention that I'm going to use. One guy I never play. We'll get to him in a minute. But I like Kyle Stanley here. I think he fits this. I think he fits this course. Bryce Garnett. I like him.
Me too. I forgot. I didn't get
I don't want to go under 7K because I had a couple of guys over there. I like Bezizenhout or whatever it is. But I'm going to play Jim Furyk probably.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, well, sell me on Furyk a little bit because I'm having trouble getting there.
No, I mean, you know, he's if he's going to be like 6-7% owned or something like that, just Mr. Irons, Mr. Keep It in the Fairway. You know, is it enough to make the cut and finish, 30th? I don't know, 7,200. But he's rating to be decent for me. And again, if people get on him, then I'm not going to, but it's going to be another day. I'm not going to know. I'll probably end up playing him. So him and Harman are my two favorites, given ownership and everything else.
Yeah, for me it's Mitchell, but I really like those guys as well. And I don't mind the Furyk thing. I just like some of the upside of some of these other golfers around.
Oh, I cheated. I said Kyle Stanley and Bryce Garnett. They were under 7K. Okay. So let's talk. Any other set? Let's talk about any other sub 7K guys you like.
Well, Garnett and Mitchell are my favorites. I also like Mark Hubbard a lot. And I don't understand, again, why he's not getting attention. This seems like a course that suits him fairly well. I've heard a lot of people talk about him this week. I've got him as another good value. There's just a lot of good value, or a lot of good potential value, I should say. Brian Wesley would be another guy, but I'm not going to probably get to too much of him, but he did sort of stand out. We could always play Munoz because if he gets hot, he can go and win you a tournament. Tom Hogue has been playing well, but I'm not going to probably do it. I'm just mentioning other names of guys. I don't think I'm playing these other guys very much. Seamus Powers makes a lot of sense. Neesmith, they're really cheap, man. But I just don't know that you need to get to these guys. Chase Seifert, he would be the one I'd prefer of all those guys.
All right, so I'm going to go in order because I do have like several of these guys. So in order, my favorites are Kyle Stanley and Bryce Garnett as far as the under 7Ks. Then you mentioned Munoz. I like him. You mentioned Hubbard. I like him. The two guys you didn't mention that I like, one is Brian Stewart at 6,500, and another guy who I've played before, who I kind of like, is Adam Schenk at 6,700. So I don't know if I need to get down to those names, but why not? You find a guy at 3-4% owned, and you're playing Harris English, for example. You probably need to do something like that. And the other guy, by the way, one other guy that I have to do a little more work. I can't believe I still do more on this. Is Chasen Hadley.
That's a decent one.
Yeah. So him also. So it's it's the same conversation always, but I think it's even more important this week because you don't really have a golf tournament where you have such I don't say crazy ownership, but I think it's pretty heavily weighted this week, more than it's been in a while. You know what I mean? Like
I would say it's weighted with, for the most part, not necessarily in great reasons.
That's what I'm saying. Well, Webb is a good reason, but I mean,
is he a good reason? He's a good reason. But so just think of any other tournament. They were playing anywhere else, and Webb and Brooks were the same price, and it was a major. Webb would have 5% ownership, and Brooks would have 30% ownership.
Yeah.
And it literally just changed. It's just a name change. And yeah, sure, it makes some difference in their motivation. I don't think it's gonna make all that difference. I just don't. All right, so real quick, highest owned players. I'll just do mine real quick. Keith Mitchell, Harris English, Tommy Fleetwood, Webb Simpson, Bezidenhout. And by the way, that Webb Simpson, though, is still below the field. Bezidenhout, Sabatini, Henley, Doc Redman, Kopka. And Glover. Sorry.
I don't know who's going to be my highest owned yet. I just don't.
On Sunday, too.
But what I'm going to play, by the way, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to 150 max the mini max for like 50 cents. I'm going to do that just to get a little practice building lineups and using scripts and things like that.
Do it. My friend who Kenny, he had a chance to win it, but JT Poston blew up at the end and didn't help him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, he had a good chance. He was like sixth or something at one point. There's a million people in that tournament. It's like playing the Millionaire Maker, but he had everybody. He had On, and he had all the guys. Like, he just was an incredible Morikawa On. Everybody was going nuts.
And so I'm not sure where I'm going to. So in that, I'm going to just get my practice scripting and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb or whatever it is. Is that let's just say my highest owned, my two highest owned, non, famous, blocks are going to be probably Brian Harmon and Lucas Glover. Those are going to be my two shots. They'll probably have a lot of it. And the guy you mentioned, by the way, Rory Sabatini. I like him a lot.
Yeah, by the way, I want to point out guys like Rory Sabatini real quick before we get out of here, but like I believe On finished like somewhere, I don't know where he was was he in the 20s or teens, wherever he was. I think he had like a top 4 or 5 score on the whole, maybe even top 3 on the whole slate. So you don't need, you can go for guys who have scoring upside. You know what I mean? Taking a shot, one guy I didn't mention, like Carlos Ortiz or something. Somebody who can get hot. Brent Snedeker is a guy who can get hot. So playing those high upside, and Rory Sabatini is like the ultimate example of one of those guys. He's going to have a higher score almost all the time than someone else. He's -5, someone else at -5. He's probably going to have like 8 or 10 more points than they do.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Good luck, everybody. Hope you have a cut. Is there a cut? There's a cut this week, right?
Yeah.
Hope to have a cut sweat. Hope to get back on the winning track with golf. Golf's rough business though. And I will, yeah, so that's it. So Bobby, stop this and then give me 5 minutes and then I'll send you the other one.
Sounds good, man.
Okay, bye.
Bye.